Hey, first of all, just thank you everybody for joining and just taking a break from recruiting and all that stuff. To share some information and again open to questions. As we go along. First slide. Obviously, I'm the wide receivers coach at Columbia University, and you see it doesn't say wide receivers. It says the Columbia University Flight Crew, and that's one thing that I hold my hat down on is that, give your group a name, have an identity, um, and the guys will gravitate to it. I use it a lot in recruiting. It gives recruits, it gives the current players something to grasp on and to feel a part of something, So that's a big deal for me to make the guys feel a part of not just the team, but the team within the team. And that's who we are as the wide receivers at Columbia University. Um, just first off, some of my coaching beliefs, first one, have confidence in your abilities. And, as wide receivers and at the high school level, at the college level, it's an ego-filled room. It's a room that, the guys individually have different personalities, but typically they all have big egos and great personalities along with that. But to remind them to be confident in what they're doing, and their abilities and the things that they put out on the football field, and that's on and off the field as well. Again, being a part of the flight crew, have confidence in yourself, and I want them to really to feel free being who they are as individuals. Um, Applying pressure in the meeting room is a big deal for me. I talk about 2 minute in the meeting room is 2 minutes on the field, and basically what I'm saying there is that when I'm on the board or they're on the board or we're watching film or whatnot, um, you know, uh, asking them questions, but getting a response quickly, not giving them a whole lot of time to ponder and think about it and stutter and go through, their mind in the ways that they may think, but making sure that they think quickly so that when they get out on the field, it pops to them in the same way. They're able to go back to how they remember the play or how they remember the signal in order to, again, apply it on the field. Tying in film with pictures for playbook purposes, for practice/game prep, whatever you may be doing. But to make sure you're tapping into each individual's way of learning. If a kid just learns better by pictures rather than words, or if he learns better by drawing. But my biggest thing is to tie in pictures with the film. And again, when you're going through playbook and practice preparations, being able to push through negative plays and tough times, that next play mentality, and I'll scream it all through practice, next play, next play, next play. And sometimes that's even doing positive plays as well. Sometimes guys want to celebrate a lot more than they should. Next play, let's get back on the ball. Let's get ready to go. Our offensive coordinator, he wants to go fast. So if he wants to go fast and my guys are the guys that are holding up our ability to go fast, that's on me. And that's on us as wide receiver coaches if our guys with that ego, with that confidence, are doing a little bit too much. And then finish every play. One of my biggest things, it was going to be going into this spring, one of my biggest things was to make sure I defined the finish more and more frequently, I should say. And, you have drills or whatever, and sometimes you just kind of let the receiver or you let the player just run out. You let the player just finish how he finishes. But during some of the skill work, that you get the little bit of time before spring ball starts, the biggest thing was to define finish. So actually setting out a finishing point, 2 cones that you need to run through. And I set the cones out about 1.5 yards, 2 yards apart for the guys to just finish through and make sure that everybody is finishing in the same way. And I'll even critique myself through the film that we're about to go through. There are times where I saw it and didn't see the defined finishing point. And that's where, I basically decided I need to define finish a little bit better and more. Stance and start is first and foremost. And the guy that I looked up to growing up in the coaching profession, Latrell Scott, he would grill me when I was a younger coach, and he would always say, "What's the first thing that you're talking about?" you know, and the one thing that we always that he always taught me and said was stance and start. Get the guys lined up, all right, and then have your rules, have the rules in which you know, every receiver in the room lives by. And for us, you want to be balanced first and foremost, and then you want to get your inside foot up. And how do you get balance? How do you know what balance is? You know, sometimes you can just stand in front of a guy, tell him to jump up straight up and down. He'll come down with his feet shoulder width apart. All right, now he's on the line of scrimmage with his feet shoulder width apart. Ask him to take his outside foot back. All right, keep his inside foot up. All right, and now he's balanced. And that's one of those stances that are like this, rather than being stacked on top of one another, because then you're not balanced. All right, we want to have, you know, a good distance between our feet. Again, around that armpit to shoulder width apart, depending on how the guy's legs are built. Majority of weight on the front foot. Back foot is used for balance and burst. Having great weight distribution. A lot of guys say 80-20, you know, 75-25. But, you know, in the Ivy League, if you tell a guy 80-20, you better know what exactly 80-20 is, because he'll ask you. And that's not just for the Ivy. That's a lot of kids around the country. But, you know, so I say just have the majority of the weight on your front foot and have good weight distribution, all right, so that you're able to burst off without false steps. Arms are relaxed and comfortable, unless you're being pressed and your arms are up. And I always use the slogan, be ready for the fight. Have your arms up versus press. Eyes on the ball. We're doing a lot of things. We do a lot of things with our snap count and going on two and things like that. But my guys should not really be tied into that much. You know, their eyes should be on the ball and they should be ready to roll when the ball is snapped. Avoid false steps. You know, a big thing, especially if there's no kind of press. You know, the defender is playing off. You know, we want to make sure that we're getting going as quickly as possible. And my thing is always that first step should go up. You should drive that back leg up and out. All right, getting as big of a first step as possible. And then just explode off the ball aggressively. Have all of that in your mind and explode off the ball aggressively. I typically, when talking to players and recruits and coaches, I like to say that all of those things on that slide, I can typically say them within a very short amount of time, and the guys know what I'm expecting. Stance and start. They know the checklist there of stance and start. And then we'll just go into a little bit of drill work, and this is how we start practice. For the first couple of practices of camp and spring practice, we won't do this necessarily every day, but we will do this early on to make sure everybody's on the same page as to what I want when I say stance and start. Sorry. You guys are going to get lined up. Everybody's got the inside foot up to wherever I am with the ball in my hand, and they're just taking off, making sure that first step is their best and biggest step. And then when it goes into route running, it's the same thing. I want to make sure that first step is a great explosive first step. Pre-snap checklist is what our mentality is next. And again, I'm building this thing up. Stances start, and then it'll build up throughout the whole responsibility of the wide receiver. Pre-snap checklist, alignment assignment is first and foremost. Know where you need to get aligned, and then know what you're doing once you get there. And then identifying coverage, alignments of the defensive players. Based off of your assignment, what are you doing? How are you blocking? Where are you supposed to be at the end of your route? You know, what's your end goal to the play? And just apply those techniques. Apply the techniques that are taught. But the biggest thing is that you know where you need to be aligned and what your assignment is. Big on those things, alignment and assignment, especially if the alignment has to do with the route and getting across the field. You need to be tighter, you know, so don't be wide and don't, you know, mess up the timing of the route by the quarterback. And just here, you know, releases, have a plan, you know, understand if it's a soft corner, again, no false steps. Attack the leverage of the defender, his techniques, but understanding why he is playing where he is. As far as his leverage is concerned, is it cover 2, cover 4, cover 3? How is his body tilted? And then if you're getting a press or hard corner, understanding his leverage. Is it inside? Is it head up? Is it outside? A lot of times we have trouble with releasing versus outside leverage press corners, and just understanding that, yeah, it's okay to go inside sometimes. I know that I've said all through the week, it's a must outside release, but you can't get outside. Well, as soon as you get out inside of them and get them stacked, get your butt outside and get outside hard, right? And giving guys the ability to react when things aren't perfect, when things don't work the way they're drawn in the playbook. When in doubt, use your best move. And when talking about moves, I like to give guys about 2 moves and then give them counters off of those moves. That equals 4. And then everybody has a speed release. So 5 moves for one individual wide receiver, in my opinion, is enough. Again, 2 moves, counters off of those 2 moves, and then a speed release. Make your target small, and that starts with stance and start. And also on your release, taking away a shoulder, getting skinny. Some people call it dip and rip. That's what, I learned early on in my career and kind of stuck with that. It's the same thing though. Running around the hoop, when you're running around the hoop, you're getting your shoulders 12 to 6. All right, you're getting around and getting that guy stacked as you release. Have controlled, quick, and violent hands. I'm big on body control when talking about recruiting. Again, I'd rather have a guy that runs a 4.6 and can control his movements versus a guy that runs a 4.4 and is just a straight line speed guy, and it takes him 55 steps just to stop and get in and out of a break. Again, a guy that can control his body, and the same with press release, control your hands, be quick and be violent. And then attack and stack, and everybody teaches that, making sure you close the distance, step on his toes and get around him and stack him. Making sure that you give yourself a 2-way go in the situation. One of my favorite release drills that I do, I'll set up a short ladder, actually get the equipment guys to cut the normal long speed ladder, cut it down to about 4 boxes, and then I'll get these guys going with a ladder cadence and whatever it may be. I allow them to choose and give them opportunity to have some input. And what they're just going to do, I call it club and hammer. They're going to club and hammer down, taking that arm straight down, breaking the wrist of the defensive back. Some people call it club and swim or club and rip, whatever it may be. But same thing, you just apply it to the bag and making sure it's a quick and a violent movement. So as they go through the speed ladder, he's got his cadence, and then he's trying to stack, get in between those 2 cones, and get skinny with the shoulder. Take away, in this case, the left shoulder. Take it away. Don't allow the defensive back to be able to capture or really touch that shoulder. Again, being quick with the hands. Hammer on the second hand. And I'll always talk about the second hand being very important.
Coach, got a question here in regards to the releases. Coach wants to know, you mentioned having 2 moves, 2 counters, and a speed release. Can you give us an example of what that would look like for somebody?
Yeah. One of my guys, I'll talk about this. One of my guys goes from, say he's got his inside foot up versus press or a hard corner. He likes to switch his feet on the release, basically getting himself now, he's almost to level. And then he'll switch, and now his left foot was up, now his right foot is up. And then he'll shuffle at you, and then he may just speed off of that. Well, I'll tell him, hey, if you switch your feet, maybe you come to balance and you stab the same way that you typically speed, and now go opposite. And again, now that's 3 moves that you can do, because now you can switch your feet, you can jab inside and then go the other way. So I think that's probably the best example as far as a guy having very similar moves and then having counters off of that move. Is that good?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So just talking routes, individual routes begin with a complete understanding of the concept, the quarterback's progression, as well as understanding the coverage and leverage of defenders. So I played quarterback in college, and, you know, I always wanted my guys to be where they were supposed to be, right, as a quarterback. But as a wide receiver coach, I'm thinking the same thing. Fellas, don't be late to the party in a way. You know, be where you're supposed to be when you're supposed to be there. That goes for a lot of things as far as accountability. But, you know, my guys know that I'm going to be a little bit more hard on them because I play the quarterback position rather than the wide receiver position. You know, so be there when the quarterback wants you to. Chemistry with the quarterback is a major thing when it comes to routes for me. You know, throwing the ball with whoever the quarterbacks are outside of practice, post practice. You know, just finding times just to build chemistry. Chemistry also, it doesn't have to do with routes. You know, as a college coach and high school coach, you can get your guys just to hang out a little bit more, just so that they know each other's movements. Again, personality is a big thing. Those things are real when it comes to quarterback, wide receiver chemistry. But 5 phases of route running for me: release, burst, depth, influence, and break. And I talk about that with my guys all the time: release, burst, depth, influence, and break. Those are 5 phases for me. And then when catching the ball, being prepared, right? And so we talk about hot hands, and everybody typically talks about late hands as far as deep balls are concerned. So you're not giving the defensive back a target to play through. But hot hands for me, I don't know if, you know, y'all know when guys run slants at times, they got their arms pumping, boom, they stick, and then their arms jump down to the side, and they want to make that quick catch like that, you know. But instead of having to take your arms from down by your side and bring them all the way up to where the ball is coming, where the ball is targeted, but why not just be running through the route the whole time as you're pumping through a slant and catch the ball, you know, with your arms up, and then catch the ball like that, you know. So I always talk to my guys about having hot hands. That's also in the mindset of controlled hands, being prepared to catch the ball as it's coming to you. So my guys, again, using the word hot hands, typically know what I'm talking about, and you know, you get a response in that way. Talking about, you know, all of this too, making sure that your guys use the language that you use. You know, we all want to be speaking the same language. We all want to be speaking, in theory, Coach Taylor's language for the wide receivers at Columbia, you know, so that we all are communicating efficiently. Top of the route, I want eyes downfield or on the defender. You know, all the time your eyes can't be on the defender, especially in zone coverages, but understand that you want to control the defender with your eyes if you have the ability to. Shoulders over thighs. You know, I want to make sure I want to make sure we start low, stay low. That's my biggest thing. Start low, stay low. Get a great first step. Start low, stay low. Shoulders over thighs as you go to break, right? So that your feet can be controlled, that your body is controlled. You're not leaning back. Great arm action, you know, and I just want the guys pumping. I just want the guys running and having, again, controlled arm action. Foot, shoulder, head, and breaks, especially in post routes and slants, things like that. I want foot, shoulder, head. And basically all I'm saying is stick a foot. If you're supposed to be sticking a foot on your third, fifth, or seventh step on a post break, you know, foot, shoulder, head, opposite, and then go the way that you want, and then control movements. Again, now top of the route for me, I learned this from a guy named Sanjay Lal. He was a wide receivers coach at Buffalo when I did an internship a few years ago, and he talked about running around the cone for your break. So that's what we do as far as running curls and comebacks. We don't necessarily stick that foot and then take that next step away from where you stuck your first foot. You know, we want to make sure we're running around the cone. So if we're running a 15-yard comeback, if you put a cone at 15 yards, my guys will then run around the cone. And that way they're keeping their speed. And really what it does, as they run around the cone, their arms and feet move faster. So it gives a false sense of acceleration to the defensive back. So the defensive back may think, okay, he's speeding up to run even faster vertically. But I'm going to run around the cone, meaning at 15 yards, I'm going to just pump my arms, get my shoulders turned, keep my feet down, stay tight, and come straight back down around the cone. And this is an example of running around the cone, and we'll do this probably once a week, because running around the cone is something that you have to get yourself prepared for while doing it. So my guys, basically, I give them an opportunity to actually race each other because that makes you, run the route faster. So. And we'll do a figure 8 around the cone. You'll see number 16 get a little wide, and he's got to put his hands down. I want to, again, be controlled as I run around the cone, all right? And get your arms pumping, and getting around the cone tight. And they're going to come downhill. If we're running a comeback, they're coming downhill with speed, trying to meet the ball, all right, and give themselves room to make a play, and so that we're not running out of bounds every time we run a comeback. This is another top of the route thing. We talk about losing a yard when we run digs and unders, 5-yard under, whatever you run your dig at 10 or 12 yards. Some people run deeper digs. But losing a yard, making sure we don't give the defensive back a lane to cut you off. So my guys will just run around this bag, lose a yard in front of the second bag, catch the ball and puncture. Again, this is probably the slide that I came to and I said, I don't have a true definition of finish right here. And so an improvement for myself and for everyone, make sure you define the finishing point, and make sure everyone holds each other accountable on the finishing point. Again, losing a yard. This is what this drill is for, lose a yard. Catching the ball and ball security. See the ball as early as possible. And I like to use the metaphor like baseball. If you're up to bat and as soon as you can see the ball presented in the pitcher's hands, some guys are so good that they can see a guy holding the ball in a way that they know what pitch is coming, right? Same in football. If you can run your route and get your eyes to the ball as quickly as possible, then you're able to focus on the rotation of the ball. Every pass is not going to be perfect, and you're going to have to change your hands, being prepared to catch the ball, and then attack the ball. And I'm not talking about attack the ball all the time, just attacking it physically. I'm talking about being able, I shouldn't say physically, with your whole body, being able to attack the ball with your mind and your hands. You know what I mean? I'm attacking the ball by standing still and putting my arms out to get the ball before someone behind me is able to get it. So that's when I talk about attacking the ball, not all the time, a full body attack, but at the same time having that mentality to go get the football. And then eyes to the tuck, I'll yell it throughout practice, eyes to the tuck. And all I'm saying is once you catch the ball, once you've received the ball, take that ball to the tuck. I want to over-exaggerate it in pre-practice. I want to over-exaggerate it in my EDD drills, everyday drills. But so that when you get to a situation, you're playing in a rain game, you're playing in a game where it's really cold outside, or any kind of weather, inclement weather, you want to make sure the guys have practiced the mentality of taking their eyes to the tuck, making sure the ball is secure. The ball is secure with an eagle claw, index finger, the palm, all right, your forearm, your bicep, and your pectoral. All right, and we all just want to be here. We all just want to be here with the ball high and tight. Everybody talks about high and tight, but making sure that we have that ball secure, trying our best to avoid any kind of fumbles from the wide receiver position during the year. And then again, fellas, just believe in what you're doing, believe in your group, and that's why, again, I reiterate the flag crew. That's me. Questions?
Awesome. Yeah. If anybody has any questions to drop in there, please feel free. Let me look back up because I know a couple came in that I wanted to push towards the end. When the average size. What's the average size receiver you're looking to recruit?
Yeah. My preference is I try not to go any shorter than 5'10", and I don't mind not having super tall guys. If a guy is 6'3", 6'4", 6'5", and he's good enough to play at the Division I level at Columbia University, he's probably a bigger recruit than we may be able to get, you know. So, you know, preference 10, 5'11" to 6'2". Again, having great body control, good speed, you know, but the biggest thing for me is body control, hands. I like to see guys when the ball is away from them. I like to see guys run into the ball, say run and play outside zone away, right? I like to see guys showing up in the picture, and I yell it to my guys all the time: show up, show up, show up. But just having energy throughout the play until the whistle is blown.
No, absolutely. Let's see if I'm not sure how much you know work with the guys. Let me see what else. Do you teach? Just to go over again, do you teach routes and breakpoints by yards or steps?
I like steps. I'm a big steps guy. So, you know, 3-step slant, 5-step bang, glance, and then 7-step post, and then we also have a 9-step post as well. We, you know, and so there's a whole tree as far as that is concerned. When you're breaking out, the numbers are even. All right, so you know we have just an arrow, which is 2 steps, a quick out, which is 4 steps, which I'm really big on. I love quick outs. 6-step speed out, 8-step deep out, right? You know, so breaking out, it's even. Breaking in on your post, it's odd. Total numbers. A lot of guys just like to talk about one foot step number, you know, but I do the total numbers. But yeah, I love numbers.
What is your advice to a young developer of men that played quarterback that would have helped you in learning how to coach the wide receiver position?
Just repeat that one more time. I'm sorry.
What is your advice to a young developer of men that played quarterback that would have helped you in learning how to coach the wide receiver position?
Yeah, it's all in the details, in my opinion. You know, anytime you're able to teach football to a player, it's all in the details. And then also just having that relationship, in my opinion, and for right now, we're having these Zoom conversations, these Zoom meetings with our guys. I meet with my guys twice a week, and on Tuesdays, we really don't talk about football at all. On Tuesdays, we're talking just about life and you know, things that are happening and things that are important to them. You know, we talk about music, you know, but find something to talk to your players about, and so that they'll trust you, one. And then when you go into the football side of it, they're locked in because they know that, you know, you have other interests outside of football. So it's football time. Let's get into it. And again, let's be detailed in what we're talking about.
What drills do you use or technique do you teach for slots that are getting collisions by linebackers?
Yeah, the second level release type move. You can set a bag very similar to the drill I did. I can go back. Shoot. Very similar to this drill, but set the bag a little bit further back and allow the speed to build from the slot, right? And we're doing the same thing, but you know, I want to try to avoid using a shoulder or a hand or arm that I don't have to. There's no need for me to club and rip a guy that's all the way in here, you know, if it's a linebacker and I'm running vertically, all right? As he's getting towards me, maybe you can stick him to hold him, and then as he reaches his hands out, swap him down 12 to 6, and then so that you're able to get vertical. But a lot of times I talk about landmarks for slot receivers. So if we're running like a 4 verticals type concept, you know, our receivers want to be 2 yards outside the hash. Well, if your mentality is to be 2 yards outside the hash and you're not the bender as the slot receiver, it's okay to go 4 yards outside the hash too. So just avoid the collision more than every time thinking that you need to accept the collision, if that makes sense.
What crossover work do you do with the tight ends?
With the tight ends?
Yes.
Yeah, pretty much everything that I do with the everything that I do with the wide receivers, you can do with tight ends. You know, again, Coach Fabish, our offense coordinator, is our tight ends coach, and him being the offense coordinator, obviously he has some other things he can worry about or other people that he can view. You know, I may get the tight ends every now and then, and that's my opportunity just to get physical with them, because tight ends are more often than not going to get collision at the top of their route. So that's an opportunity where you can do with your body, or you can take, just a pad. As they get to the top of their route, just bang them at the top of the route. And then, one thing I heard from a tight ends coach before is, you're going to get hit, catch the ball, right? So mentality is to focus on catching the ball. So they do a really good job in our receiving drills, actually receiving the balls.
Absolutely. Do you run 4 verticals? And if so, how far down the field do you ask the outside wide receivers to break on the out if they can't beat the DB over top?
If they can't beat the DB over top, usually it's a route. So if you're running comebacks, if you're running speed outs, again, speed outs for us, 6. But, my preference on 4 verticals, and I love 4 verticals. My preference on 4 verticals for the outside receivers is to run comebacks, and 14 yards, 16 yards, whatever you feel times up the best. And again, running around the cone, not stopping your momentum and slamming the brakes on that inside foot, but running around the cone at that breaking point and coming straight downhill. If you get that press and your conversion rules are to just outside release and beat them deep, reading the boundary safety, that is what it is. What it is, and for us, I shouldn't say for us, but over the years, I've grown to really love the bender and the boundary. So, but you can obviously do it from 3x1 to the field. You can do it from 2x2 and have the bender be to the field. Switch releasing the 4 verticals is a favorite of mine. So the outside receiver to the boundary can now essentially become your inside receiver by switching and stacking. So, those are things that I hang my hat on schematically, definitely 4 verticals.
Do you have an optimum number of catches you want your guys to have in practice? And do you believe in tennis balls in that count?
Yeah. Not only do I believe in tennis balls, I believe in softballs because of the circumference of the front of the football is very similar to a softball. So give them softballs and have them snatch the softballs just like they would a football, 1 hand, 2 hands. As far as the number of catches, not necessarily, but I do believe in like efficiency. So if you saw the stance and start drill, and I'll go back to the beginning. The stance and start drill. Well, we started this on the sideline, all right. And instead of running your guys back to the sideline to do the drill, or circle around and get back to the sideline and do the drill, started on the sideline and then pick a point in the field so that you can go back. So that you're not doing this just to do a drill to go up. You go up and then you turn around and go back. So if in that situation I get 4 throws to a single person, I'm very happy, because if he would have wasted time doing this and then only gotten 2 throws, then we're wasting it and not being efficient.
When at practice, what blocking drills do you guys work on daily?
Yeah, I didn't have it on here because I didn't have the film at Columbia for the blocking drill. That we did it, film for it. But blocking drills that I love are board drills. Actually, set an agile down in front of the receiver, get him to start in his stance and start, get him to get his feet balanced as he goes across the board, agile pad, and then fit his hands on a partner. So thumbs up, elbows tight, and then fit his hands on a partner, and then drive with that same base. I can get up and kind of see if you can see my feet. But as I work through that agile bag, I want to get to that defender and strike him with that same base. Strike him, and then as I drive, I want to drive with that same base, if that makes sense. That's one of my favorite drills to do with those guys.
Absolutely. Does anybody else have any questions for Coach? Obviously, if you guys have any follow-up, man, his contact information is there. Feel free. The deal, man. During this time, take advantage of the opportunity of more time on our hands. You want to optimize it now because later on we're just not going to have it. So appreciate all the coaches for coming in, man. Coach Taylor, obviously, big thank you goes to you, man, for taking the time out of your day, putting the presentation together, coming and talking to us coaches today and helping us get better, man. That's what it's about, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure, Justin. Thank you so much for everything, man. Thanks for having me on, and good luck, everybody. And, again, everybody stay safe during this time, man.